getting in, we are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Hello and welcome to Radio Intentional Decisions. My name is Stellan Nordahl and I'm one of the hosts for today in this show in the series called Global Consciousness. And today's topic is intentional decisions in energy systems. And together with me I have both my co-host and a guest. So first of all, welcome to Monica, first time co-hosting Radio Intentional Decisions.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting, really.
So, but you're hosting more shows, not only with Radio Intentional Decisions.
No. We are going to talk about AI today. That's going to be a good show. Really.
So you have a lot of different shows that you're engaged in as a host. And today we have a very interesting guest, Nico Dolovsky. Welcome to Radio Intentional Decisions.
Thank you.
So maybe we should start out a little bit about Nico before we go into energy systems. What about Nico and why?
And why, and who I am, and why I'm here. I'm a person that loves digitalization. I love the commercial side of that. I'm a person that think that if you take the digital transition in different markets and look on the commercial side and the benefits that you can do with that, you can do so much good, and that is me. I'm going into different market areas, try to help them achieve change and do better. So I guess that's why I'm here.
And we met some 10 years ago or something?
Yes.
At the kids' school.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was interesting because it actually brought us here. From my point of view, that's why we're here. And not just that we met because of the kids. We were also engaged in how we look at learning, how we engage in as parents in school, how teachers work and so on, about values and stuff like that, visions and values.
Yes, we did a great value work for the school and could actually help the kids articulate their needs and their wants and put their values into words, and it became a really, really nice a nice work that are still existing today. So
it is.
nice.
It's fantastic. I see it also when I go there to bring my younger daughter now. So, okay, so just so we get the map right with Nico, because it could be good to know a little bit about how you have engaged in community in different ways. I mean, you see some issue, we can call it a problem, but it could also be like a system issue that it's designed for one thing, but it's time to do something else.
Yes.
You were already in around 2000. I guess it must have been engaged in how internet came to be. Or maybe even previous.
No, not me, but the co-workers that I'm working with today. I was looking on that from the side. We were engaged in the same communities, and we had to enroll ourselves with our minds instead of the body, because as you can see, maybe you that are listening cannot see it, but my arms are not very strong, so I had to compete with my head instead of my body. So we were a bunch of nerds that were together, and that part of me has been joining me for the whole my whole career. So I love nerds, and nerds are really, really good to engage. So that's a fun thing. So I will come back to that, because we're living in an area here down in the south part of Sweden where we have a huge bunch of nerds, and they are super good to engage.
So in the context that there are people that were like leading the change at that point. Yeah?
Exactly.
But you also engaged in the parking system thinking, more or less, because it's revolutionized, I would say, as a car owner, how I looked at parking.
I found a company that needed help, and helped that company develop from a small startup to a big scale up. Went from 4 million SEK to over 900 million SEK. So it's and I think soon it will come over the next threshold. So that's also a fun part, and that market we changed. So instead of putting coins into the metal machines where you didn't even get a cup of coffee, then you can use your mobile phone, and you change the industry, how you think and how you thought about the way of parking. So that was really good. Also helped companies in the security industry to change their way of looking how you can do things. But then I thought, okay, then I needed a break, and I really wanted to do good things for the world, and I really wanted to in the end lay back and to look in my kids' eyes and say, okay, Daddy did a huge change, or I tried to help the big change, and then I can feel proud of myself. So this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now, and we actually got a super opportunity in the world right now, because we got a crisis, and as Churchill said, never underestimate the good crisis. So then take that crisis and make something really good out of it. And we had the terrible things that happened 2014, and that escalated so much later on when Russia took the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And that was actually the trigger point that made it possible for all these changes to happen, because EU gave us so much incentives to actually do something, not only for the environment, but also for the people, and for the resilience of the military way of looking at it. And also we really needed to get out of the Russian gas need that Europe
dependency.
had. The dependency, yeah, exactly.
So right now we're moving into the energy systems.
Yes,
That's where I believe where we are in the conversation right
Exactly.
now, and that's what we're going to focus on together. But the ideas, I would say, came before the crisis itself in that terms. But there's an ongoing way of looking at the world that it's denominated crisis. So it's just us as humans are when we arrange something or invent something, we often solve a problem but also create new ones. And Monica, energy systems, you have been thinking a lot of it. So maybe we should let's get into the topic in some sense. Energy itself. We have been talking about dependency. What we do right now we wouldn't be able to do this without a certain flow of energy into our house right now. We sit here with electronics and stuff like that. That is all dependent on energy, and food production, and production of workers, and what we do on our day-to-day work and so on. So how dependent are we? Any one of you know?
It's a lot. There are ways to see this. Either there is no such thing as a country with low energy consumption, or a rich country with low energy consumption. And what I think is that we as a human species would like to use more and more of those things that we have, and the only thing that we have the possibility now to do is to make this energy green, because I think that the consumption will just go up and up. The other way, there is possibility to do the other way around and turn off the light, and the last man in the cave will shut down the candle. But I'm not sure that is the way that we want to live, because then this would not be possible to do this pod. Or
but maybe we can live without this pod, but are a lot of things not only dependent on it, but we have designed it because we want it or need it, or
just
feed,
for one
just to
thing,
feed people.
we have the heater that heats the cocoon that keeps the baby alive when it's too soon born. That those type of things, you should not save energy on those things.
No.
So I would say that if you could have an abundance of energy that is green, then that would be a superb thing.
I think it's hard to go back. Developmental, it's forward, moving forwards, and we also have a lot of digital systems. I've been working a lot in healthcare, and today we have a lot of digital system that will help people with disabilities to participate in the world like they couldn't be able to do before. Like we have cameras that will show their room if they fall or something like that. Today you don't have to see the person, you just see the skeleton and that they are falling, and steps on the floor. It's a good thing for the integrity, but the technique is awesome, and we wouldn't be out of that, because that's a good
so probably we can sum up before we dig into all the solutions that we can sum up that we need energy. Of course, the amount of it and the level of consumption, or the way we consume and stuff like that could definitely be up for a discussion.
Absolutely.
But if we conclude we need energy, okay, so then how do we produce, how do we distribute, how do we see that people and industry get the electricity and the energy it's needed? So this is where it all comes down, because we have built one system.
Yes, and that's actually a fantastic system that's built in the end of the 19th century, and they are developed from people that been the best minds during their time, and it's an awesome system, but they have not been thinking of it in the way that we have computers and the internet. So that thought in mind were not there when they designed the system.
So that means that when the system was designed, it was designed for the purposes and the needs that were at that time, and then we have built upon it, and we have come to a point where we have problems that are built into the system. That's more or less what you are addressing, right?
Yeah, the system has limitations and are quite fragile, actually. So that is what we need to address.
So the idea here, just to get it straight for the listeners, is that we have one system, and how can a new system, how can it look, how can it work, how can it, because in the transition of something and in the change of a system, you need to visualize it or vision it at least. You need to have an idea what it can do and why and so on, and how it works, and then we need to transform it. So the idea that you have the vision, if I understood it right, is to more or less democratize energy distribution.
Decentralized.
Decentralize is the okay. So decentralize is the word.
Yeah.
So making people able to both produce and distribute locally.
Yeah. Yes.
So instead of, as we have today, the systems today are quite big. They are top down and so on, and
then go from bottom up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to and that is actually what EU has been giving us the possibility to do, and the legislations of today is now possible to do this, and you can actually make your own. You can make your own cables. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to have these energy communities that are allowed to share and distribute energy within the communities. So that is actually a new thing that has been regulated before, and that opens up completely new things of possibilities. And if you take that and you change it to the way we did, because we have done this a couple of times before, and one parallel area that we have done this is actually the telecom industry. Before we had circuit switched telecom, and that was also designed in the same time. And maybe you remember, because you are as old as I am, that it cost more money to call between different towns or after 6 o'clock. And I remember my parents told me, can you not call your friend in Lund instead of outside Lund? Or can you at least please wait until after 6 o'clock? And you cannot really tell your kids about that, because this we have changed. And it's not that long time ago. It's less than 30 years. So that structure we have done. And the big thing what we did was that we wanted broadband. And that was the major thing in Sweden. We had a early adoption rate for technology, and we had we put broadband into the Swedish homes, and that made it possible to do this. Even if you're looking at this live or listening to this live, it is not real time, but it's near real time, so you would see and hear it as close to real time as possible, so you will not notice the difference. But it's not connected through a copper cable to end as a telephone call were before. So today we do packet switched over the internet, so you can send it packaged wise instead of in through one line, and then you have to have time shift, and it is the small memories that you have in the end of the computer. So when you start a movie or you start a pod or something, then you make a small buffer, and it takes a couple of seconds, and it loads up, and it, depending on the speed, it can use and not use this buffer, and then it fills up all the time. So it's not really real time, but it's near real time.
So the analogy here with the internet and with the telecom, it's also applicable on the energy system from your point of view.
Exactly. So, and to understand the internet way of the really basic is that if you use the principle of as close as possible or the nearest first, then you can understand the way where I will come later on. So if you use the nearest first, is that if we communicate here over internet or over the digital ways, is that we will go up to the Wi-Fi point and then back to your phone. That is the closest way to communicate. If that if it's not working, then we try to go around, and then we do the next closest one, and so on and so on, and we have a network of different ways to go around. And if we can apply that to the energy sector as well, then we have a new structure. Then that is the network and internetification of the energy market that we see is possible.
Okay, that's a nice word. So I'm thinking, because as I see it, there are there are various aspects. One is the production aspect.
Yes.
And we have gone from a few solutions to many solutions. So there are many ways that energy can be produced.
Yes.
And then we have some kind of a need to store it. And that is right now happening, I guess, from we had some ideas on it, but now there are more solutions, and probably in a couple of years we will have plenty of solutions for storing energy, and then distribution. and there is one in Sweden, at least, big solution. But how far can we come with today's solution with what you want to do?
If you go back and you look first on production, then we have a top-down system. And if you look at this system as a hose or a bicycle hose, that you have one huge production that is pumping up and down and to keep the pressure up. We call that the hertz because we use that system in the AC system. And then in all these small areas, we have small taps where the consumers could tap out, and then we pump up the system a little bit more to keep it stable. But nowadays, we also added a lot of small pumps all over the place. So that means that sometimes all these small guys is pumping their own pumps, and the big one has to try to pump or not pump and suck and pump and suck, and it starts to become quite hectic and quite hard to do this. And this we can of course solve with some different type of things, but the problem is if some come with a scissor and cut a big hole in this pipe, then that's a huge problem. It doesn't really matter how much you pump. That is the hertz thing that we have to talk about that regarding the problem regarding AC. Regarding production, we are going from the big production facilities to the decentralized ones and the smaller ones, and price per kilowatt. If you talk energy, then we all is looking that this is going towards zero, because the production cost for green energy is so cheap that it's becoming better and better all the time. In the 1970s, when we started with solar panel, the price for 1 watt was 1,500 Swedish K, and today it's like 1.5 kroners for 1 watt for the same production, and that means that after like 42 days, that area will start to generate income to pay off the installation and the rest of the product. So the production cost is not the problem. That one we have. Then what we need is the distribution, and to be able to distribute this, we need time shift. and a time shift of the energy would be battery. Batteries are super good between like a second to maybe a month. That would be, or weeks. Say seconds to weeks. If you want longer storage than that,
You mean that if you produce something, you can use it in that time span?
exactly.
So if you get too much, you can fill in the holes and so on.
For instance, say day and night, windy, not windy, for instance. If you want longer ones, then you need to go to hydrogen, for instance, or heat storage. We have buildings all over that are super good heat storage units that are flexible, that we can use. And there will come other products. You have pumps in the mines, you have water level storage, you just name it. You just figure out a person that have a good engineering skills, and then they will find a storage solution. Exactly. But then you have the distribution that we need to manage this, because today in the system that it's working today, due to the setup, then the distribution system cannot accept all the green energy that the landlords want to invest in. So we actually now have more people wanting to invest, more people that have the place, the housing, the land that they want to use it. But we don't have the infrastructure to be able to accept all the production.
So I'm thinking here, in my mind, I see quite clearly when you talk about it, you also have those metaphors and analogies and so on. So then technical solutions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need a couple of new things. We don't need any new inventions. We will use the same technology that we already have, because that's actually the best thing to do. Price.
Circulate the ideas, or circulate the solutions, circulate.
Exactly. So
ideas.
For storage, I mean, we have huge. Or we take production. We already talked about that. That one is going price performance, super low price, super high performance. We go for storage. The same thing applies to that. 20 years ago, we had a huge cost of storage. The batteries was extremely expensive. They were not that good, and they were quite small. Then we got the phones, the laptops. That started to make those the prices go down a little bit, and the performance go up. Then we got the EVs and the electric cars. Then really boomed it. That we got the price going super much down, and the performance going up. And it's the same thing with all type of technology, that the more you produce, the better the performance and the lower the price. So that's a fact for all type of products. So this is the way where we are going. But what we need then is we need a couple of different ways of distribute this. So what we need a router, and we call it a independent router. That's
the same idea again.
Then you have the metaphor from the network side. You have to switch from AC to DC, and from DC to AC, and from AC to AC, and DC to DC. So this is the router, and that you can allocate which ports the router wants to send the energy. And this you can do in a DC network. And then if these routers could communicate and have a language that is working together, then they can communicate together and distribute the energy as needed, in the same way as the internet has the language like IP. So what we are doing now is that we are helping the industry like free of charge, not a commercial product, but we're doing it exactly the same as they are developing the IP with the Internet Engineering Task Force. We are now developing the EP, the energy protocol for this, and doing this in the same setup as Internet Engineering Task Force, because they've done a great thing. Let's take all the good things that they have done and make this the same way. So now we do Energy Engineering Task Force to be able to have this language, so the units could talk to each other.
Yeah. So I guess this is an idea that is happening right now, right? As I understand it.
Yes.
And is it also happening in other places around the world? It's very common when you have an idea. There is plenty of initiatives. Do you see any other initiatives right now to decentralize or democratize the system?
We are out talking to a lot of people around the world, and they see it, and they see the need to do this. I think in Sweden we have come as far as possible. We are in the lead to show, and I think that is also the important thing, because Sweden are super good on the things that we are doing first, and if we do those things first, we become great, and we do super good things. Just take, for example, Skype. That was a Swedish invention that came up because we had so much available broadband, and now a lot of people are using Skype because that's actually Teams. So just one thing, and then you have the gaming industry, you have Spotify, you have just name those technical digital wonder pieces that we have from Sweden, due to that we are so early in the market.
And I'm thinking here, Monica, do you see any, I mean, the possibilities, I guess we can see, at least from the perspective that we stand, not from the future, because the future possibilities are probably bigger than we can ever imagine. But standing where we are today, we can see some possibilities here. This means, for instance, a local producer can be a part of the whole system instead of delivering to an owner, or be able to, if I understand it, be part of the system.
Yes, and that is actually very, very important to see that those energy communities that are sharing energy within itself are also a part of their overall grid. And of course, you'd always take the production that you can produce yourself. That's as a first. If you can't do that, you take the production that are produced by the neighbors. If you can't take that, you take the storage that you have yourself. If that's not possible, you take the storage from your neighbor. And if that's not possible, you take the storage from the community, or if that's not possible, you take it from the nearby community. And in the last hand, you are taking it from the overall grid. But what will happen then is that you will help the overlaying grid to be the perfect model.
Yeah, moderator more or less, and not only distribute, moderate it more or less.
Exactly. So what you inside this community, you're making a possibility to be able to produce as much as you want, because you can promise the overlaying grid that you will only supply the perfect frequency, you will only supply the perfect amount of energy that the overlaying system needs, or be able to take due to their limitations.
Yeah, I can also see the robustness of such a system, of course. I mean, in terms of failure, it doesn't put out the whole system or big parts of it. So
exactly. So that's the other thing. I mean, if you look in Sweden, we are blessed with not that much shortage or blackouts in the system. But if you go to other places, there is quite a lot. And then if you look at on the military perspective, of course, there is huge benefits if the system is robust and resilient, and that you are not able to knock it out only by having good luck with one of your missiles or something like this.
Today, How far have you come to do this?
We're doing it in a big scale system demonstrator in Lund.
Yeah.
We're doing this to prove the concept and to show the different possibilities that this will make, and we also will be able to extrapolate this data that we get out of this system demonstrator to see how will this affect the rest of Sweden and the rest of the world
system, I think,
and the rest of the system.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So this is where we are now, and yeah.
And so, I mean, visualizing something is much easier to understand. Let's say we have a small community. We can call it, is it a town or is it a smaller community than a town? Is it like a neighbor's area? Is it a commercial site? Is it what is the level of localness?
I would say
let's speak.
I would say neighborhood.
Neighborhood. Okay,
Yeah.
so
I think that is a good.
Okay, how many households?
I mean, the numbers doesn't actually really matter, but I would say that a small or a small neighborhood would be a good size for an energy community. Sometimes they are larger, sometimes they are including solar parks, sometimes they are including industries, sometimes there are residential houses, it could be small what you call industries or other things.
What I'm thinking of here is that when we go from the idea of having a big centralized top-down system to many smaller local bottom-up, how rigid is that? For instance, if I build another house in that community, is it then is it easy to get another household or a business or whatever it is, industry on the same hub, or do we need to create a new hub?
No, I would say it's the same thing. In the end, it would be the same thing as internet. You add your network and your part. So this is the thing that you add, and if you cannot join another community, you start your own, and then you share it between the communities.
Okay, so and then comes my little thought here. Then how I mean, one is the solution, but I also believe that you have a business model connected to it.
Yes.
So is everyone paying for it, or who is investing, and is there any investment? Can we use the system as it is today, or do we need to? I mean, for instance, during the broadband and internet. Built up in Sweden, we had a lot of fiber networks being dug down to the. Do we need to do that kind of stuff?
In the beginning, we would need to do this in the same way as we did when we did broadband. But the thing now, we have also learned things from that past, because then you lived in a Telia house, or you lived in a bredbandsbolaget house, or you lived in a Comhem house, exactly, and you were stuck to that part. And the Viaeuropa was first in the world to build this open system that you could have one connection that you could choose which service provider you wanted. So this is the fundamental thing that we have, and that we bring into this system as well. So you're not locked into one system. And all the landlords out there, they really, really know that if you get locked into pipes or or to one supplier, you know that you're stuck there forever, and you really, really don't want to do that. So this is the thing, that it has to be open. It has to be able to work together with no matter what type of production, no matter what type of storage. And in the beginning, you need to dig down your own cables, and we call them freedom cables because it sounds good. And it's actually what it does. It opens up a lot of possibilities. In the end, I would say that I can see the usage of the old grid that is already there. So, I mean, it's copper and pipes, or sometimes it's aluminum, but the infrastructure there doesn't care if it's AC or DC. You just have to adapt the limitations of that specific cable and the specific hardware that is connected to that.
And okay, so a small neighborhood or a small community or a small whatever it is, and a small can depend.
Exactly.
So ownership here, is that by the community or the small community, or is it the every single spot, or how do you look at it? Is that something that we have discussed? Where what do you own in the system, or do you even need to have an owner?
No, it's this. If you look at it as internet, who owns internet?
Yeah.
And if you look at that, then of course you own your own infrastructure in your own house. That's what you do today.
So. Yeah, really interesting. And I'm also thinking of, are there any other countries that are knocking at the doors right now and saying, this is something we need to look at, or we want to dig into this, or please help us out? Or
yes, it is. We were just over representing Sweden in the US, and they are of course interested as well. And we have different other areas like Bogota. We have Shashishakaba, maybe I pronounced it wrong, but down in Africa. And then we have, of course, the 112 cities in the European Union that have signed the agreement that they will reduce their carbon.
I've signed the treaty, the
exactly,
Agenda 2030.
Exactly. And a lot of those problems that they have with their carbon footprint is actually the transportation, and this system will make the transportation sector be able to electrify their fleet much more easier, because then you are not depending on the overlaying system to be able to provide all the energy that you need to the transportation fleet.
What do you see the biggest challenge in Sweden?
Time.
Time.
I really want to do this as fast as possible, because as faster we do this, we make a better impact on the environment. We make a better impact for the everyday economy, because what we see here is actually the goal to have a fixed low price for all the green energy that you need, in the same thing that you have a fixed low cost for all the phone calls you want to do from your mobile phone, or all the broadband that you use through your Wi-Fi. So this is the same thing as we see in the end for the energy market.
Thank you very much, both Monica and Nico, and a wonderful idea, and I believe that we're quite close, closer than people believe, I guess.
Yes, we are.
Excited.
So
so maybe if I can come back next year, then I will be able to tell you about all the good things that we have done.
yeah, definitely. Best for the World broadcast next year, and radio intentional decisions, and follow up on energy systems. Super. Thank you very much, everyone, and take care. Bye. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
We are creating the world we're now living in. We are competing in. We are repeating in. We are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, Making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift. Intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.